Hey, what's going on, guys? So, we've got a new update for Gothic 1 Remake, and this one is basically the kind of patch you expect right after launch. The main thing this patch seems to be doing is cleaning up the early game experience. A few issues that could mess with progression have been fixed, which is always the kind of thing people notice fast because nothing kills the mood like getting blocked early on by something that should not even be happening. Along with that, NPC interactions have been made more reliable in several situations, which sounds simple, but in a game like this, that matters a lot. If you're trying to talk to someone, trigger a quest, or just move through the world without weird interruptions, the last thing you want is the game acting stiff or inconsistent. They also adjusted object collision so players are less likely to get stuck on things. And yeah. That is one of those changes that does not sound exciting until it happens to you a couple of times. You know how it goes. You are moving through an area, you catch an edge, get wedged somewhere awkward, and suddenly you are sitting there trying to wiggle out, like the game has personally decided to test your patience. So even though it is a technical fix, this is the sort of thing that makes the whole experience feel cleaner and less frustrating. On the interface side, there are a few nice quality of life improvements too. Inventory responsiveness has been improved, which should make menus feel less sluggish when you are sorting through gear or grabbing items. They also fixed some missing or incorrect UI prompts, which is one of those details that sounds tiny until the game gives you the wrong instruction or leaves you guessing what button does what. That kind of thing can break the flow pretty fast, especially early on when you're still learning how everything works. Tooltip behavior was also updated so it is easier to read, and that should help cut down on that constant little bit of strain when you are trying to quickly figure out what something does without stopping the whole game. Stability is another big part of this patch, and that is probably the area most players are going to care about the most. Multiple crash issues were addressed, and the game should hold up better during exploration and when moving between different areas. That matters more than it might sound because open world or semi-open world games can be brutal when loading between zones or transitioning into new spaces. Those moments are exactly where little bugs tend to show up, so if this patch makes those parts smoother, that is a solid win. There are still some known issues being watched though, and it is better that the team is being upfront about them instead of pretending everything is fixed. On PlayStation 5 and PS5 Pro, performance concerns are still under investigation, and the developers have said meaningful improvements are going to take more time. So if you are on console and waiting for a bigger performance pass, this patch is not the final answer. There is also a more serious issue involving save data being deleted after a crash, and that is obviously something people are going to take very seriously. The team says they are actively investigating it and will release a fix as soon as they have one. PC players are not completely out of the woods either. Crashes are still being reported by some players, and those are being monitored. The good news is that another PC patch is already planned, and that one is expected to bring the initial crash fixes. So at least there is a sign that more help is on the way pretty quickly, which should calm some of the early frustration for people seeing stability problems on their end. One other thing they mentioned is the lockpicking system, which the developers say they are watching closely because feedback has been mixed. That makes sense because lockpicking is one of those mechanics people either get used to pretty quickly or find irritating right away. The team also reminded players that it gets much easier once you put skill points into the related ability, so part of the reaction may just come down to people hitting the system before their character is really built for it yet. Still, it sounds like they are paying attention to how the community is responding, which is always a good sign when a mechanic is getting a lot of debate. So overall, this patch feels like a cleanup pass aimed at making the game more stable, less clunky, and less annoying in those early hours when first impressions matter the most. It is not a giant content drop, but it does the sort of work that can make a real difference if you are actually playing through it.